McNamara really proved himself. And when you look at McCarthy, he is a guy that's bigger. He's got the stronger arm. He's more mobile. He's got everything you want. But Cade McNamara just flat out proved it last year what a winner he was with a great season, hitting 64%.
All right, welcome in on this Wednesday, August the 3rd. That was Phil Steele talking about Michigan quarterbacks, and we are going to talk with a Michigan quarterback here on the Maize and Blue Review, Michigan football today, and that is former Wolverine John Navarre, who joins us on the Maize and Blue Review. John, good to see you. How you doing?
Good to be here. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Appreciate having me on.
Yeah, well, look at I get a picture back from your playing days. There you are, 16 throwing the ball. So and I see it's the Minnesota. That's one of my favorite games. That's the one where you took off and ran in for a touchdown, which was a highlight I'll never forget. Doesn't matter how old I get, but I know you get asked a lot about that particular run and Rose Bowl, winning the Big Ten, but today is the first day of practice. It's exciting for Michigan fans. It means, they have a month to go before the opener. But if I ask you about the first practice back in what would that have been 99? What do you remember about the first day of fall camp 1999?
The first practice. So, that was Tom's senior year, and obviously, back then nobody had any clue what Tom was going to be today, but still we all knew he was pretty special. So I do remember him kind of taking us young freshman peons under his wing in the first practice. You don't get many reps, but I had gotten in there and for a rep and at near the end of practice, and it was a simple 12-yard curl flat read, and Tom kind of told me, where to look to go with the ball, and I was so jacked up in there, and I think it was Diallo Johnson who was the receiver, and I stepped back, he was wide open, and I rifled one about 1,000 miles an hour, 12 feet over his head, and it sailed off the practice field, and everybody went, whoa! So I was a little hot, and Tom kind of gave me some coaching, said, calm down, but he kind of made fun of me a little bit too. But that was my first memory, my first real live practice with all the big guys in a live stage at that level coming out of high school.
Well, I don't know. I was going to say it's funny. I don't know whatever the word is, but I was just watching Tom Brady yesterday, the day before, at camp down there, kind of talking about the same things. We're just going out there, rep at a time, just trying to look forward to the season, get out here. It's hot, all the kind of same kind of things, 20,
right, exactly.
3 years later. So let me start there. So you got Tom Brady, who's a fifth-year senior. You're a true freshman in 99, and then you've got a true sophomore in Drew Henson. Was there an anticipation that there was going to be any kind of a competition in the fall, or did you pretty much think, hey, this is Tom Brady, he's fifth-year senior, he's just going to be the guy the whole way?
Well, it was evident and clear from Coach Carr that there was going to be some competition, but I think a lot of us knew, Tom was the leader. Drew was a great leader as well, but Tom was the leader of the team, and he'd been there for a while, and he built a good relationship with the guys. And I think everybody kind of sensed that, that we know there's going to be a competition, and we know the talent and the opportunities Drew can bring, but everybody knew this was Tom's team, and that was his year. You see some parallels with what's going on right now with Cade and JJ. I think it's kind of the same type of deal. It sure seems like shades of 99, but we all knew that. We all kind of understood it. It was a good understanding, and there was a right time for Drew to come in, and you saw that throughout that season. But ultimately, everybody knew. I think it was Tom's team.
John Navarre is our guest here, Michigan football today, and you mentioned that first day you had, there's a great story about throwing the ball to Diallo and sailing over his head, but and you had a few reps. But as practices go and as they develop over the next month here, you have the quarterbacks and the different units going out there and having particular drills, and you'll be involved in that. How does it break down? Is there a point? I know that you get into the game week, you have to at least have an idea who's going to take more snaps. But as you have the different periods, are they divvying up the snaps already, heading into the first practice and weighting them, or is it kind of even? How does that work?
Well, in my time in history when I was playing, it was kind of started out early on as kind of an equal divvy up, but you kind of sensed as it went on, got closer to the first week of game prep practice, that whoever was going to be the starter, the reps would shift more towards that quarterback. And it's not something that's really formally announced and they make a big team announcement. Here's what we're going to do. It's kind of just gradually picked up by everybody. And it's a slower process that everybody picks up on their own, and it doesn't need to be said. Everybody sees the same film. They can all see the performance, and they're all making their own assessment on who is playing better in practice. It doesn't need to be announced like, okay, today Cade got 5 gold stars and JJ got 4. So that's where we're going. Everybody knows. It's no mystery when you're in that inner circle, because everybody's watching the same film and they pick up, all right, yeah, this is probably where it's leading. And then that translates and correlates to the field on who gets more reps the next day based on how practice went and how the evaluation of the game film went. And it just kind of happens organically. There's no real cut and dry turning point. It just, everybody knows.
Interesting. So when they have a team vote for the captains, right? I don't know. Is that the week before, or is it just a couple of days before the game?
It's the before the first game. Yeah, it's well before the first game. It's in the middle of training camp. So there's plenty of time to, and really those votes typically aren't made in training camp. They're made in the off season well before they get to training camp. The players' minds are made up already by the time they get to camp, who their leader is and who their captains are going to be.
Because my idea was that if Cade McNamara, he went to Indianapolis for the coaches meetings. If the team, a lot of times the guys that end up going, that the coaches tab there, they're usually the leaders, upperclassmen, right, whatever else. And Cade went. So I was thinking that if the team, whatever their secret ballot, if they voted for Cade McNamara, that would be an indication that, hey, Cade's going to be the guy here. We don't have to worry what Jim Harbaugh has to say game week about. We'll see, they're still competing or anything, that he would be the starter. But what if that happens? What if McNamara is named the captain? Does that mean he's that you're going to see him mostly as the guy all year long?
It doesn't mean that. A guy that is voted captain is voted captain because he's the leader, he's the go-to guy. But it doesn't mean he's the starter. I think you'll probably see a similar setup where there's some split time, just like last year. But a captain is not voted on as sole discretion of who's the starter. Like, I'm voting the captain who's the starter at this position, or he's got to be a starter to be a captain. That's not a prerequisite. The captain is who is the leader of this team, regardless of depth chart. That's really what it is. And it's not an indicator. It could be an indicator of, who's going to be the starter, but it's not the sole indicator. It's more voted on to who's the leader.
Do you think it'll be a little bit more difficult for Jim Harbaugh and Matt Weiss and anybody else who's sitting around and talking about what they're looking at because of the differences of the two quarterbacks? Sure enough, McCarthy can really throw the ball, and Cade can as well, but JJ has that intangible, I don't know, like the Patrick Mahomes, like he's running way over to the right and, he's throwing across his body, which, you weren't 5 years ago. They'd have, you didn't want anybody doing anything like that. But, he's making all these plays. I mean, how do you evaluate a freelance capabilities of a quarterback, John?
Well, I think how you evaluate it is let him, kind of give him enough rope to be successful until it stops being successful. And the kid's talented, let him do what he's good at. And the more repetitions at those kind of off schedule type plays, the better those type of guys get. And we've seen that through the NFL into college. And these coaches are letting these guys do those types of things instead of, well, you said, that was frowned upon back in the day. It was taboo to throw against your body across the grain on the run. You got pulled out of practice for that kind of stuff. Now when these guys get away with it, the coaches are letting it happen and letting their talent play out. I think until it starts to get them in too much trouble. And if they're successful with it more times than not, and they keep getting better, let them roll. And how you evaluate both players with the two different types of style they have. Again, I sound like a broken record, but I keep referring back to, Tom Brady and Drew Henson. We had this in '99. You saw how it worked there. I think it's a very, very similar situation. And I think, the coaches are going to probably do the same type of thing as they did last year, similar to '99 as well.
It's kind of like Top Gun, back in the day, they got the new Top Gun. And
yeah.
And this time around, I know you don't have to, but this time around, if Tom Brady is being played by Kate McNamara and Drew Henson would be the young hotshot and JJ McCarthy, how much, if you're on the coaching staff or if they just called you up, do you think they value the experience of what Kate McNamara did last year and the way he protected the ball and stayed away from negative plays and led a lot of scoring drives? And how much do you value that experience? And then ultimately winning the Big Ten, that's got to count for something.
Yeah, that holds a ton of weight with me. I would anticipate it holds an extreme amount of weight with the coaches. That experience is, is the ultimate highlight on the resume for a quarterback. And it just allows you to become better. You become more knowledgeable. It certainly helped me over the years get better each year. More live time I had in Michigan Stadium, the better I got week after week and year after year. So experience trumps all in my mind. I mean, I think that's so valuable and gives him the benefit to be the starter with the coaches and with the players, really no matter what happens in my mind.
Man, I remember your freshman year, the redshirt freshman year. Henson hurts his foot, breaks his foot, so everybody's waiting for the instant All-American, just add playing time, and then he gets hurt, so then you have to go in there and you play great in those first two games. Then you had to go out to UCLA, and it was like 100 degrees.
Yeah,
out there at the Rose Bowl, maybe the hottest game that was ever played there, and that was a heck of an indoctrination. Playing football at Michigan. I wonder when, everybody has their own ideas about what they would do. Like, hey, let him play this, let him play that way. But if we go back to '99, Lloyd, in the first game, he would let Tom Brady start the game, and Tom actually started all the games that year. But then he would put Drew in the first series of the second quarter. So Tom would get the first quarter, Drew would get the second quarter, and then whoever, I guess at halftime, he'd walk up and, tap him on the shoulder. And he did that twice, I think, at Syracuse and at Michigan State. I think Henson was able to get in there and started the second half. But so, John, how would you, again, what would be the recommendation from John Navarre on how would you go series by series? Would you use the Brady Henson plan? Or what would be the Navarre plan?
I think the Brady Henson plan is a good plan. I think that way everybody knows what's going to happen. There's no surprises like, hey, why am I coming out? The starting quarterback doesn't have to say that. He knows what's going to happen, and he can game prep mentally around that. And I think one of the main purposes of him doing that is, or Coach Carr, when he did that, you keep that backup quarterback live, keep him in the game, keep him mentally engaged. It's tough to come in off the bench and be in the pocket, in the groove right away. And having that sprinkle in series helps with that. And if it's talked about, it's openly communicated that this is what we're doing, everybody's on the same page, I think it's easier for both quarterbacks to be successful. But you think you still got to have a little bit of gray area there. So, let's say, JJ's scheduled to come in on the first series of the second half, but let's say Cade, the first half hasn't missed a pass and he's thrown for 3 touchdowns. You certainly don't interrupt that. So there's got to be some exceptions and wiggle room that you have to have. And I think everybody would understand that. He's got the hot hand. And the other way too. Let's say Cade throws 3 interceptions in the first period. Maybe you move that transition up a little bit. But if you start with the foundation, the schedule that everybody understands, I think that's probably the best approach rather than looking over your shoulder. Nobody knows when, except for the head coach that's going to pull the trigger. That's not, in my mind, the best way to go about it.
Well, John, I'm looking over your shoulder, and I expected, I knew you worked for a steel company, so I was expecting you to have sparks flying in the background, maybe a helmet on, everything else, but it looks
I got my hard hat back there.
Oh, yeah, okay. Is that what that is? I didn't know if that was a foot, maybe that was a Cardinal helmet or something. Okay, but it looks like some Michigan pictures on the wall there. So you're liking, let me get you a question about that. How did your time playing football and quarterback, that intense pressure that everybody says Steele on Steele.
Yeah.
How did that help you in your days in your business life?
Yeah. So I work for Alro Steel. Alro's a company based out of Jackson, Michigan. And I got very close with the owner of Alro, who's now passed, Al Glick. I'm sure it's a very familiar name to your fan base in Michigan. And I started with them immediately after my NFL career, and had a good relationship with Al throughout the years. And he loved Michigan football. And the reason he loved Michigan football was the tradition, the values that Michigan was all about. And he ran his business very similar. And so there was a lot of correlation between the company I work for now and how their values, their culture in comparison to Michigan football. So transition was easy. And I'm in a leadership position where I'm following and instilling those values and cultures I learned from Michigan, and I learned from Al, and I learned from Alro. So it was very easy. And so it's been a good transition. I'm happy where I'm at. And it, I think the foundation of those principles that I learned at Michigan from the Michigan family, from Lloyd Carr, those mentors that I had really set me up to be successful. I would guess in anything I do, but I think I got very lucky in the company I'm with now because of the history and the connection to Michigan football.
It's a very short list. If we were going to name the people that you said, who loves Michigan the most all time? Bob Ufer would be on that list, and Al Glick, I think, would be on that list. I got a couple quick hitters if you got the time. I think Tyler might be on the list too. He wanted to ask you a question. He's asking you what you remember the most about summer bonding trips you may have had with the team. Now, you guys weren't, traveling over around the world or anything else, but you would come in with the summer and maybe
we certainly didn't go to Australia or I saw that they went to the UP this most recently, but we didn't do any of those fancy trips. In the summer, we didn't, and most of these players nowadays, they don't leave to go home. We may get one or two weeks off to go see family, but summer conditioning, is pretty much year round, and we're on campus. Some guys do school and get some extra credits, but what you do is you get a house and you live with 4 or 5 guys. You split the rent, and you're working out every day. You're watching film. You're conditioning. There's some practices sprinkled in there. You may get yourself a job. I worked at the university golf course all my years, so you're really on campus year round for the most part through your time at Michigan as a football player. And we didn't do those trips, but we stayed as a close-knit group throughout the summer, working out, and then you got the rest of the day to do what you want to do. And some people got jobs, some people, went to school, and it really, and again, I'm going to go back to my earlier comment. That is when those summer conditioning and those private workouts that you didn't have coaches at, it was like a captain's workout. That is when the captain, the team makes their mind up on the captain. That's when it's established. And over the summer, those workouts and that time spent is when the team develops who their captain's going to be, not how did training camp go these last 2 weeks. Let me vote on the captain. It's already decided in summer conditioning.
Well, it's a different world now, John. I probably don't have to tell you, especially for quarterbacks. Nowadays, you might be showing your phone saying, "Hey, I just picked up another $100,000." You'd be a millionaire already. You wouldn't have to wait, I don't know how many, 5, 6 years till you were done, till you were a millionaire or multi-billionaire. You maybe in your first or second year. at Michigan. The final question, and I just talked all about the quarterbacks, so they expanded a little bit. I've been talking about the offense all summer long, and this offense looks incredible. The offensive line that they have coming back, the receivers, they spread the wealth last year. Ronnie Bell comes back. They've got at least 2 tight ends. Running backs look pretty dynamic with Blake Corum coming back. Donovan Edwards looks like, just add some playing time here. Do you think, am I going too overboard talking about this being an explosive, maybe 40-point per game type Michigan offense this year?
I don't think you'd be going overboard with that. I mean, the offense does look good in terms of, I think the most importantly, back to my earlier point of senior experience, there's a lot of return guys, there's a lot of upperclassmen, and that is so valuable on a team and the offense. I mean, it's so valuable to have these guys back, have that game experience, do it again, learn from their mistakes last year, and have some maturity. And then I'm very excited about Ronnie Bell coming back. I've loved him. He's one of my favorite players the last couple of years. I felt so bad for him last year. I'm happy he's got another shot. I think he's going to do some great things. And they have so much young talent that got a taste of it last year, showed what they can do, and they're going to be that much better this year because of that mentality of maturity. I've been here before. There's no surprises. That is so valuable on a team.
John, you sound like if you ever wanted to, retire from the Steele business and you get back into football, I don't know, coach, broadcaster, insider, all of it. You could do it. So how do you are you able to watch all of the games? You just watch them one time through and relax, or you break it down tape? I mean,
I've done both. I do watch every game unless there's some, extraordinary reason why I can't. I have watched a couple games over again. I do, Jamie Morris's show every Monday, the Monday afternoon quarterback. So I at least, if I'm going to talk intelligent last show, I better know what I'm talking about and watch the games. But I do watch them all. And, with the years I've had of breaking down film throughout my career, both college and NFL, it's easy to see the game and pick up on things quickly. And I'm able to dissect and evaluate on the fly with that. Not by no means am I a guru, but just see things differently from the years of watching film. And so I've seen good things, and I'm excited about this season coming up, and looking forward to a repeat. I am extremely elated that we finally beat Ohio State, and I'm hoping that this is the beginning of a long, long run to get that bad taste out of our mouths over the last however many years it's been.
Too many. You won it in 2003, talking about the Big Ten. They won it the next year in 2004, and then last year was the first time since then. So you're a little bit Tom Brady and Kyler Murray, on the fly like Kyler, and then putting the study in like Tom Brady, your teammate back in 99. Great job, John. Thanks for staying with us so long. All the best and continued success in everything you do.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on anytime.
All right. Take care, John.
Take care. Bye.
There he is, John Navarre, joining us here. And let's put that picture of him back up there on the video. There he is up there. I wanted to just say a few things. And there's the Michigan quarterbacks. Let's see if probably John doesn't want his, I don't know if we can remove that. I don't know, I'd ban him from the studio. I'll just leave that there. All right. So, those are a picture of the 2 quarterbacks. If I wanted to say one thing about somebody special to me, and that is Mr. Vin Scully, who you may have seen passed away last night. We just heard about the news today. Vin Scully, to me, was the best that there ever was. I consider Vin Scully a friend, and yet I never met Vin Scully. But I listened to him like baseball fans have for 70 years. Growing up in Detroit, Ernie Harwell and George Kell, those were my favorite baseball announcers. But when the Tigers would not get to the playoffs and World Series, and heck, in '84, I wasn't around in '87. So a lot of those years, the Detroit Tigers are not getting into the postseason. So the baton was picked up by somebody like Vin Scully, who was the voice of the Fall Classic when I was growing up. And just to listen to Vin Scully and the way he talked about the game, and if you love sports, you don't even have to be a baseball fan. Baseball was the game of my youth, like a lot of people, my age, 52 years old. But if you saw the movie Field of Dreams, where James Earl Jones, Michigan grad, said that the one constant is baseball. And that was Vin Scully. Vin Scully on baseball is everything that's right with the game. I'd listen to Vin Scully read a grocery list, and I have over the last few years. The great thing about Vin Scully is that he was around for so long. Even 10 years ago, I'm grabbing my and signing up for the baseball app where I can listen to Dodgers games. I don't like the Dodgers. I like the Tigers. I've never been to a Dodgers game. I don't like anybody with the Dodgers. And yet here's Vin Scully. I would be listening to him at night. And then even Vin Scully, just over the last few years, he would sit down in his chair on Twitter and just talk for like 2 or 3 minutes. And, I watched all of those. And whether he was talking about Jackie Robinson or Willie Mays or Ted Williams or Al Kaline, it was the best. So we talk a lot about, there's a lot of salary caps and all the different things. I'm just yesterday, it was really a sad day. I know the Tigers ended up winning the game over the Twins, but it being the trading deadline and not even, Grossman or Michael Fulmer getting traded, that happens when a team's out of it and you get that. But, and it's not even that, the general manager just, has you feeling like where, you're feeling right now with the Tigers, but it's, the game and just being able to listen to it and watch it. It's one of those things where you come back and Vin Scully was everything that was right with baseball, everything that was right with sports. And I just wanted to say, rest in peace, my friend, Vin Scully, who the great part is if I ever need to hear that golden voice again, I follow you on Twitter and I can just go over there and there it is. Vin Scully talking about Jackie Robinson. So we'll be talking a lot about Michigan football over the next month, as you might have guessed, this being the Maize and Blue Review. We're here live weekdays at 1:00. Now, you want to know what Michigan's next move is, you join the Maize and Blue Review today. You go to michigan.rivals.com, and you can get access to premium content for free until the season opener. Use code UMFree22 at checkout. And if you're somebody that subscribes to this channel, YouTube, or if you're listening to the podcast, you may notice that there's been a flurry of activity of other pods and videos that have been dropping. And many of the members are jumping in and turning on the camera and getting involved in the fun. And you can never have too much content. And I see a lot of it has to do with recruiting and what's going on with the latest with the Wolverines on the hardwood and also on the gridiron. So you probably already know that if you're somebody that follows the pod. But if you're not, you've got more and fresh videos and pods coming your way. We'll be with you tomorrow. Jim Scarcelli, the former Wolverine. You start talking to these former Wolverines and they go back to these practice days. These guys are ready. These guys are, I think, former football players. Once you go through 2-a-days, I think they get up early in the morning, get all their exercise in, go do some of the work, and then they come back and then they do double sessions. That's just the way it goes. Scarcelli is ready. He's already, we've trimmed it down to about 10 topics to talk about with Michigan football, and we'll do that. We'll be live at 1 o'clock, taking your calls, your messages, your feedback instantaneously. So we look forward to doing that until tomorrow. Thanks to John Navarre for joining us here. Opening day. And that means that we are just 1 month away from the Michigan football opening, and that is a pleasant thought. It's hot as blazes outside. I'm going to go enjoy it. Try not to sweat too much. Get my 2-a-days in. Take care.